structuring your practice time, right? So there's a bunch of stages you want to go through when you think about like, how do I best practice time, right? So if you think about this, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 steps to practicing, to structuring practice time. And you don't go through all these steps in every method. Like if you're only doing a Wang Sum practice, then no, you're not going to go through all these steps. But you should have gone through all these steps at some point. So then you're just going through the last few when you do a practica. And this will make more sense once I go over them. So the first step you want to go over is, what are your overall goals for your dancing, right? If you don't know your overall goals for your dancing, then you're never going to know what to practice. It's always just going to be like, well, I don't know, let's try this week. Doesn't really make sense. If you understand your overall goals, then you want to think about, okay, what are my goals for like this year? What are my goals for this month? What are my goals for this week, right? And then it becomes much easier to start to think about what you're going to practice, because you've broken it down, right? You've got, okay, this is what I'm trying to get to. This is my goals for it. And then once you understand those, your next thing, your third question is, what are my goals for this practice, right? This practice. Once you know your goals for that practice, then you've got to ask yourself, so what is the outcome, or what's proof that I've achieved my goal? Right? And we'll go into detail of each of these in a second, but what is the proof? How do I know that I achieved my goal? And then after you know that, you can create a plan to get that goal. But if you don't know what the outcome looks like, what the proof is, then it's really hard to design a plan around it. Once you've created a plan to get that goal, then you've got to verify that you've gotten the goal, right? You've got to actually try it out and test, did I get my goal? Did I hit that proof that I had at the beginning? So those are the 6 stages. Again, what is your overall goal? What are your goals for this year, month, and week? What are your goals for this practice? What is your outcome or proof that you have achieved your goal? And then create a plan to get that goal, and then verify that you got the goal. Okay, so let's break these down a little more and like help you guys go through, how do we go through each section of getting our goals. So starting off, what's your overall goals? The first thing I would do, and this is why when you join Dance Ninjas, one of the first things I give you, oh, well, this is actually, I haven't done this for dancers yet. I've only done this for teachers, because teachers usually have very specific goals they're trying to go for. Dancers tend to be more lenient on where they go with their dancing. But if you really want to be serious about your dancing, I'd say you should fill out a blueprint of like all the different things that you could learn in your dancing. So in other words, like you've got connection, you've got musicality, you've got styling, right? And then you've got miscellaneous, and there's other categories that you could make, but let's say you stick with those 4 categories. And then within musicality, you've got rhythm, you've got texture, you've got volume, you've got energy, you've got all these different like concepts that you could work on improving within musicality. Within connection, you've got grounding, you've got counterbalance, you've got arms versus body. So you've got all these different ways of improving your connection. Within, you know, styling, you might have like lines, and to be honest, I don't focus on styling that much, so that my list wouldn't be as big within the styling one. I'm more looking for the feel of the dance than the look of the dance for my dancing. And that's nothing to say like it's great if your goal is to make your dance look good. It's just that's not what I focus on. The next thing would be miscellaneous. You know, maybe you've got like emotion, which could be within connection, could be within musicality as well, but maybe you think of it as its own thing. Maybe you got performance, like you know, how you react to a crowd, connecting to audiences and stuff. So you could have a bunch of things that just don't fit in your other categories. That's usually, I start with like just listing out all the different things that I can improve in. And then I start categorizing and going, oh, well, I've got 5 musicality things, so it makes sense to have a musicality category. And I've got these connection things, so it makes sense to have a connection category. And then I really don't have anything that really has its own category, so I have a miscellaneous category for my 3rd thing or something like that. And then as you build your miscellaneous category, you might start seeing, oh, I should really open up a whole new category for, you know, this new concept for performances or for something else. But basically, I'm getting a full understanding of my goals. And then I go, okay, what are my strengths and what are my weaknesses, right? And you highlight your strengths and you can leave your weaknesses blank until they become a strength, then you can highlight them as well. So going through the whole list, these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses. And if you don't know this, this is actually, if there's anything that like I would recommend doing a private lesson for, it's like do a private lesson to get like a laundry list of things that you can work on and to learn what your strengths and weaknesses are if you don't know them yourself, right? Because that's the thing, like high level instructors. I mean, when you're working with someone that's charging $100, $200, $500 an hour, like the high level people, they have, the reason why they're so high level is because they have such a strong understanding of everything that you could work on that they can then pinpoint what's most important for you to work on, right? Oh, this is really where you're weakest, or this is really where you're strongest. And then you have to decide for yourself, the next step in your overall goals is deciding how much do you want to focus on your strengths versus your weaknesses, right? Because you can go, I only want to focus 100% on my strengths and never worry about my weaknesses. I don't know that I'd recommend that, but you could. Or you could go the other way and only work on your weaknesses. I don't know that I'd recommend that either. I'd recommend probably either 50-50. If you really don't care, then I'd go 50-50. If you have a strong like desire, like you really like that validation of like doing things well, then I'd say work 3/4 of the time on your strengths and then 1/4 of the time on your weaknesses, right? But if you get more positive vibes from the challenge and from overcoming challenges, then I would say spend 3/4 of your time on your weaknesses and 1/4 of the time on your strengths, right? It really depends on you and your personality and whether you enjoy that process of overcoming challenges, or if that's more strenuous for you, you more enjoy like just really focusing on rocking things out than focus on your strengths more of the time. But probably some balance of them. Once you understand that, then you can start looking at, okay, I've got all these different things I could work on. Here's my strengths, here's my weaknesses. Now I know most of the time I'm going to work on this, and then some of the time I'm going to work on these. Or I'm going to go 50-50 or something like that. But you've got an understanding of like, okay, I know what I want to work on. Then you want to set like yearly goals, monthly goals, and weekly goals, right? Like your yearly goal might be like, I want to be, you know, really amazing at musicality by the end of this year, right? And so now you know, okay, that's my main goal is musicality. Or maybe your goal is 50% music, 50% connection, right? Like those are the things you want to work on, is those 2 things, and be really awesome at those things, right? So then your months are much easier. You go, okay, so 1 month I'm going to work on musicality, next month I'm going to work on connection, then I'm going to go back and forth. Maybe it's musicality, connection, miscellaneous, musicality, connection, miscellaneous, musicality, connection, right? Like that. And then it makes it much easier each week to go granular in that, right? Even within that, like if you want to break things up, maybe this is your musicality month, but you still do musicality, connection, miscellaneous, musicality. So it's like 2 of musicality and 1 connection and 1 miscellaneous. And then you go in and your connection month is 2 connection and 1 musicality, 1 miscellaneous. I mean, I'm just making this up randomly right now. Like it's just to give you an idea of like how to start thinking about your process. You don't have to get that granular in it. You could just have, okay, these are my overall goals. You know, I'm not going to think about yearly goals. I'm just going to think about what I want to do this month. And so that's going to inform what I want to do this week, right? And And you could go that way. It really depends on what your overall goal, how you want to structure things and how flexible you want to be and that kind of stuff. But it doesn't take long to go, okay, this year I want to, you know, improve my musicality 2 times as much and my connection twice as much, right? Now, how you measure that, we'll get into measuring in a sec, but that gives you an idea of what your goals are. Now you pick your goals for this practice, right? And that's really simple. Like now you have this laundry list of things that you can work on, right? 50 different topics that you can work on. You go, okay, I'm gonna, this week is musicality focused. So now I've only got 10 options or 5 options or something like that. So I look at my options there, right? And that's, I pick 1 or 2 of those things to practice during this practice, whether I'm practicing for 5 minutes or an hour. You know, you don't need to practice 10 different things. You can practice 1 or 2 different things during that hour. So now you can ask yourself, what is the outcome or what's the proof that I achieved my goal, right? So let's say your goal is to improve your musicality. And specifically, you choose the area of volume, like matching the volume of your movement to the volume of the music, or the energy of your movement to the energy of the music. It doesn't matter, whichever one you want to pick, right? Or any other concept, but let's go with one of those. And now you go, okay, so how do I know that I've done this? Well, when I look at my dancing, or when someone else looks at my dancing, they'll see a clear difference in my ability to adjust to the music, right? And to match whatever the song is doing, right? So that's my proof, is I see a difference. Now, in order to gain that proof, right, if we skip down to the step of verify, like you're probably going to need to videotape yourself before and videotape yourself after, right? You've practiced, or have someone watch you before, have someone watch you after, right? Or look in a mirror as you're dancing before and after so that you can see if there's a difference, right? But now we want to go into creating a plan that gets you that goal, okay? So if our goal is to match the volume of the music, right, with a volume of our movement, then we want to like just play one song, like to test us, just play 2 different songs with different volumes and move your body, you know, just do Charleston, or just do step, hip, or side, or box step, right? Box step, whatever that is, do your basic, but do it to the volume of the song. So one song, and pick obvious different volumes so you can see, like pick a louder volume and a quieter volume. So you can really, at first, tell the difference. As you get better, you want to have more subtle things so you can really like have, okay, this song's at this volume and this song's at this volume. So when it's at this volume, I'm going to go this way. And when it's at this volume, I'm going to go, right? So there was a difference there, but it was a subtle difference versus like down here where I'm going, right? Versus up here where I'm going, right? So at first, when you start out, it's better to have big differences, but as you get better, you want to have smaller differences that you can make. But videotape yourself, see how well you do at these different options, and then practice, you know, and have someone practice. An extreme practice drill for this is to have someone just raise and lower the music on you at random moments, right? So that you're doing your movement, and at any random moment, you get like a bigger movement, and then you get a smaller movement, and then you get a bigger movement, and then you get a smaller movement, right? Or several big movements in a row, and then one small movement, and then lots of movements, you know, and it changes at different points. You might just get a big step, and then you have to do everything small from there. And then you get another big step, you know, or you get another big step halfway at a different point, right? But basically, you're trying to see if you can adjust your body in an instant, like with someone just randomly changing it with you. And that's the thing, when you dance, you want to do that because there's instruments in the song. Like you might have a regular song that's going, or let's I do, I do, da, do, I do, I do. Oh wow! Do, do, do. Right? So like there's just one moment that's bigger. You don't have to change what you're doing. You just have to change the volume of what you're doing. Right? So really you're trying to get an extreme practice that gets you focused on being able to just instantly change the volume of a movement, or not even the whole movement, but a piece of the movement, right? You practice that for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a half hour, it doesn't matter, your call. And then you videotape yourself again and see, are you able to dance this song, and maybe even show more of the subtleties of like of the difference, like when you dance to the bigger song, are you more accurate on what big is, right? If it's at this level and the first time you watched it, you're like, versus the next time you're like, oh yeah, I'm a little bit more accurate with my connection to that song, and I'm a little more accurate with my connection to this song. But not only just the song in general, what about the moments inside the song, right? Are you hitting those moments inside the song a little bit more accurately, a little bit bigger at moments, a little smaller at moments, based on each individual like beat that you hear, individual instrument that you hear that drives you to do that step. So that's the idea, is you create a plan by coming up with some sort of drill, or sometimes doing things in slow motion is the way to go, depending on what you're working on. And then you verify it by videotaping it and reviewing it, or having others watch it and grade you before and after, you know, or grade yourself. And then the thing is, if you didn't improve, if you don't see improvement between one and the other, then I would go back and either you need to just practice more, or more likely you might need to change up your practice method and go, okay, maybe I wasn't focused enough when I was practicing, right? Like, because sometimes we get distracted. Like if we're doing swing outs, you know, or any kind of complex movement, we might be focused more on how to do the move and not on changing the volume, even though the only thing we're supposed to be focusing on is changing the volume of the step. We might have chosen a step where we have to think about other things, right? So I would go back and choose a step that is easy enough that I succeed, you know. And then if you do succeed, challenge yourself and go, okay, well, what about more complex steps? Can I do the same thing with more complex steps? So that would be like my recommendation of taking you through like each of these steps. Now, if you're that's how to work on your own with your own goals. If you're with a partner, it's almost the same process, right? It's basically the same process, but you want to go through the process with your partner. Now, I'd recommend you've already gone through the process on your own, so you already understand the process. But now you go through the process with your partner. You go, okay, what are your overall goals? Here's my overall goals. What do you want to do? You know, like, and work through it with them, like, and think about what are your yearly goals, your monthly goals, your weekly goals, you know, and see, like, as you look at the goals of them and your goals, you look at, are there goals that make sense for us to work together on? You know, maybe some goals, it makes more sense for us just to work separately, or maybe, you know, we spend half the time working on one of my goals and half the time working on one of your goals, to balance things out so that we both get to work on our goals. But maybe there's goals where when we work on that one goal, it's actually like that amount of time we're both getting to work on a goal that fits both of us, right? That accomplishes both of what we want to do. So that's really the only difference when you're going through this plan. If you're working with a partner, is just check in with them first, find out, you work out your goals together, and then you can have a goal for that specific practice. You can think of an outcome or proof that you achieved that goal, that you both achieved the goal, right? And then, or that you achieved your goal during the first 30 minutes and they achieved their goal during the other 30 minutes, whatever it is. And you create a plan of what to work on to achieve that goal. And then you verify it and, you know, record it, watch it, and test yourselves afterward that you actually achieve those goals, right? Now, if you're doing a one song practica, like you're at a practica, some practice where you like literally are just going to practice with this partner for 1 or 2 songs, then you don't really have enough time to go over all your overall goals and check in with them on the goals of everything. So in that case, you're really just going to go, you've already done all that other work. You know your goals, right? You might want to ask them what their goals are for that one song and see, can you make their goal work with your goal? You know, or you might say, hey, do you mind if one song we work on my goal and one song we work on your goal, right? But basically you spend the song working on a goal. And then same thing, you think about what is the outcome or proof that we achieve that goal, and what's the plan to do that, right? It's all the same things. The only thing is, at this point, you need to be a little bit quicker on your feet. You probably want to have already practiced these things on your own before or with a partner before, so that you can just say, you know, oh, let's work on grounding, right? And this song, that's all we're going to work on is grounding. And you already worked on it before, so you know how to practice it. You already have a plan. You can just get to work, right? And maybe like, and just get a feel for at the beginning, like this is how I was, like how I was dancing, you know, for, I would break it down and say, dance for 30 seconds without any thought of it, then practice for a minute, and then dance the rest of the song, or dance, you know, maybe practice for 2 minutes of the song. If it's a 3-minute song, 30 seconds practice, or 30 seconds just dancing, getting a feel for like how you're doing now. 2 minutes really focused on improving, and then the last 30 seconds testing yourself again, seeing if you feel like you improved by just dancing, right? Just dancing and kind of letting it fall into your body as you dance. So that's how I would work in all these different situations. One other thing that I think is super important, if there's, by the way, if there's any questions on any of this, pop them in. I'll answer them. And while I'm waiting for those questions, I do have one more thing I want to talk about, which is the value of practicing in slow motion. Like a lot of people don't do this, and it's so valuable. It's just whether you're on your own or with a partner, like practicing slow motion. And in fact, like often, like if you work with high level dancers, they'll often make you do it on your own, slow motion first, and then with a partner, but not touching, right? And then with a partner touching, and then they allow you to do it full speed, right? And then they might even, depending on how serious you want to get into this, you might go like, you might start by going quarter speed on your own, right? 1/4 the normal speed on your own, then half speed on your own, then 3/4 speed on your own, and then maybe regular speed on your own, and then maybe even double the speed on your own, right? And then you might go to a partner and do all the same, quarter speed, half speed, 3/4, and then full speed and double speed, but without touching the partner, and then with touching a partner, going through all of them, right? Or another way to do it would be to go through like a quarter speed on your own, a quarter speed with a partner but not touching, a quarter speed with a partner touching, right? And then maybe full speed with a partner touching. And then jump back and go half speed on your own, half speed with a partner not touching, half speed with the partner touching, right? Actually lead follow, and then full speed. And then jump back and go 3/4 through the whole process, and then maybe even double time through the whole process. And if you're like, well, how do I do that? Like one way, obviously you can go quarter speed just by kind of guessing it, but there's also apps that you can download for your phone that will actually slow things down. There's an app called Tempo Slow that works for the iPhone. I don't know if it's on the Android, but it is on the iPhone. I'm sure there's something similar if it's not on the Android for slowing things down. But Tempo Slow is just an app that slows down your music. So you can slow it down to quarter time or half time or something like that. So you actually have a beat that is I mean, there's also metronome apps that you can actually pick an amount, just something that goes da, 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 and at slower speeds and things like that. So that would be my recommendation if you want to try if you want to do the slow motion. And that's a great way, like an extreme practice drill could be doing a move slow motion, or doing a concept slow motion. Doing the connection concepts are really great to do slow motion. Grounding is great slow motion. Arm lead versus body lead is great slow motion. Counterbalance is great to work on slow motion. So those are my recommendations. If there's any questions on any of this, pop it in.